Hey, it's Chris for Dual Sport Garage. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to install this Puig windscreen to improve the highway capability on this 2020 Husky 701. While the Husky 701 has great power for passing on the highway and logging a lot of miles, a windscreen like this Puig windscreen is going to help a lot with managing the wind. So I'm going to take you through the install, and it should be pretty straightforward. It's going to mount straight on the headlight housing, and so stick around for that. As always, if you like what you see here, please hit subscribe. We've got a lot of other modifications to make to the bike. If you've got suggestions and or questions, we're more than happy to help. So included in the kit is this adhesive template, which is going to allow us to drill holes exactly where they're supposed to be, which is fine. So we'll go ahead and do that. But the other piece of this is, as we sort of dry fit and see where this is going to end up, we're going to have to put these cables in behind the number plate. So let's just see how that's going to fit. Okay, so technically you can squeeze those cables in there, but there's not a lot of room between the turn signal there and the hand guards. And when the suspension travels upwards, these two cables are going to have to try and find a way to travel up, and they're going to really run into this. So that does not look like a healthy setup. When I lay the windscreen on top, once I fasten it here, it'll just pretty much be resting on the hand guards. And the cable, the way it is right now, this front brake cable is gonna not have really any room for it to come up. It's gonna need to travel upwards. So what I think will be a better solution is to space this out and have the cable sit where it was originally on top of the number plate, and just allow some airflow underneath the windscreen. I think that'll be a lot less of a chance for wear and tear and failure and binding and all of the things that we don't want to happen there. So we're gonna get a piece of aluminum rod and cut it to about, we'll see what it works out to, but maybe 1.25 inches, something like that, maybe 1 inch, to space it out and give enough room for that cable to travel in between and not bind on anything. So I'll show you how we end up doing that. I think that'll be a much better setup for the front. Okay, first off, we're gonna take the headlight off. That's just 3 screws. Our torque's 30 bit. Get the cables out of the way, just lift up and pull it forward. That's all it is to it. We'll disconnect this and we'll drill the holes on the bench. I need 4 holes here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use the adhesive guide that they include in the kit, and just lay it down there like that. Just tear off a piece of the backing, line it up, stick that down, and then I'll just peel off the rest of it, and that way it should end up exactly where I want it to be. I've just kind of scraped at this for a bit. This is kind of tricky to take off, but you'll want to take a strip of this off so we can stick down the center section. it up. So that looks like it's good. So now we can just peel the backing off and just let it fall. Pulling the backing layer off, and just not a lot of pressure, just letting it kind of fall down into place. All right, so that gives us a good location for those holes that we're going to drill now. As I talked about, because I want the windscreen to stand off and allow the cable to route underneath, I've gone ahead and located some stainless steel 1/4 20 1.5 screws that are going to replace the stock fasteners. I've got nylock nuts that are also stainless that are going to go on the back. In order to avoid putting too much pressure on the windscreen, I'm going to sandwich some just basic plumbing flat washers. Okay, so I'm going to use a 1/4 bit in order to accommodate the 1/4 inch stainless screws that I've got. That fits nicely in through the windscreen. Here it's going to be a little more snug, which is totally fine. So I'm going to just go ahead and drill those through. There's nothing behind here for me to worry about, so I can just go ahead and drill without worrying that I might bump into something. So we'll just get rid of our guide now. That feels off, no problem. The other piece I'm going to have to do is to enlarge the hole on these plumbing washers. Because although I like the outside diameter, and these are rubber, so they're going to put a little less stress on the windscreen, they're not quite big enough to accommodate stainless steel screw. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bore out the center with the same bit, the same 1/4 inch bit that I used for these holes. I'll put in there. And because there's a chance these might get away from me, be prudent to use a pair of pliers. That's all there is to that. Feed it in under the brake cable, and we'll drop it in onto those 2 pins. And then I'll just hand tighten these to make sure that I've got them snug properly. I use the power tools to go quickly, but I don't use the power tool to tighten down with a lot of force, because you can overdo it that way. This way I can feel just how tight that fastener is. So we're all set now to put the windscreen in. All right, so to set up the windscreen, as we talked about earlier, we want to space it out and I've ordered up a piece of aluminum rod. I'll show you what that looks like. That's just there. That's about 1 foot long aluminum rod. Picked it up off of Amazon. There's a variety of diameters, inside diameters and outside diameters. So I got something that looks like it would work just fine. However, in the process of putting racks, ordering racks for the back of the bike, I ended up actually getting these included in one of the kits. So to save me a little bit of time now, I certainly don't have a problem. If you don't happen to have something that works out just perfectly, then you can go ahead and order up those aluminum, that rod. It will work very well, very similar, right? Hacksaw and a file, and just try and cut it very nice and straight, and you should be all set. But for my purpose here, I'm going to take advantage of opportunity and use these spacers. So now I'm just going to dry fit it to see if the 1.5 inch stainless steel screws are going to be good enough to reach all the way through. All right, so let's see how the 1.5 inch screw shakes out. So there's not much thread left there. That's certainly not going to be enough because we've got a rubber washer that we're going to use. So 2 inch, 1/4 20. And that looks like it may end up to be just perfect. Tighten it up. So that's what that's going to look like right there. Which behind it looks like just the right amount. And the standoff looks just right. You got 1.25 inch spacer. So if you're cutting your tubing, you're going to want to cut it to 1.25 if you're going to use this same setup. All right, so that's what that looks like. Looks like there's plenty of room for the cables to travel. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put the nylock nuts on by themselves. So you can see there's quite a bit of cables back here, so it's going to be a little tricky getting the nylock nut in there. But I'm just going to slide it in there. Use the open-ended wrench to get it snug down. And I want it snug and tight, but I don't want it too tight because I don't want to crack the plastic. That looks good. Hey, so that's it for the install on this windscreen. I think it's going to help quite a bit manage the wind at highway speeds. And I think actually the gap above the headlight should work at reducing buffeting around my helmet. At least that's my hope. I'll give you the feedback on that as I begin to log miles on the bike, and I'll include it in the section below. If you have comments, questions, things you'd like to see, I'm delighted to get your feedback on that. Hit like if the video was helpful for you, and certainly subscribe if you'd like to follow along with the other modifications we're doing. I'll include the other topics in the section below so you can see what's coming up, and there'll be a new video posted every week. Glad you were along for the ride today. I hope to see you again next week. See ya. Bye for now.